Well, the Treasurer Wayne Swan has started a brawl with billionaires. He says three of them, Clive Palmer, Andrew Forrest and Gina Rinehart, are poisoning public debate by using their wealth to push their own interests at the expense of the nation's. And that risks the very idea of a fair go. Andrew Forrest hit back today. His company, Fortescue, took out full-page ads in the nation's newspapers to cry foul. And that, says the Treasurer, proves his point. The Shadow Treasurer is Joe Hockey, and he joined me a short time ago. Joe Hockey, welcome.
Good to be here, Chris.
A government in deep trouble has started a fight with three people that its polling tells it are among the least popular in Australia, and you roll off the bench in the support of billionaires. Isn't that a case of come in spinner?
No, I've pointed out that this is a distraction. Wayne Swan is declaring war on billionaires, but he is, in fact, waging war on middle Australia. He's increasing the cost of goods like private health insurance, electricity with the carbon tax, alcohol with taxes, new taxes, cigarettes. Average household interest rates now are higher under Labor than they were under us. So out of all of this, he's launching a distractive attack on billionaires and he's not doing his job.
The point he's making is fair enough, though, isn't it? That they're using their wealth to push their own barrow?
Well, Wayne Swan has lots of friends in the union movement that have used union members' funds to push their arguments, and when it comes to vested interests, look no further than the faceless men in the Labor Party.
There aren't too many other people in Australia, though, who can take out a full-page ad to defend themselves.
Well, Fortescue is a listed company, and Wayne Swan is attacking a listed company. You know, there's some irony here because today Wayne Swan was talking about growing the pie, and his solution is to try and shoot the chef. I don't think that's going to grow the pie.
Isn't the thing that's deeply ironic that mining companies now are prepared to pay the mining tax, and you that might be in government soon are saying, no, we don't want your money?
Well, it remains to be seen just how much tax they're going to pay.
They're prepared to pay it, though. You do agree with that?
On the current forward estimates, the mining tax represents around 1% of all federal government revenue. Now, that is not going to be the silver bullet for the patchwork economy that Wayne Swan pretends it will be.
It is revenue, though, and it is revenue that you will need, given that you might have to balance the books. In fact, you told your shadow party room the other day that you would have to balance the books, and why would you give up revenue?
Well, from our perspective, of course we will balance the books. We will run a surplus in our first term and every term after that, based on the information that is available at the moment. But we're going to have smaller government. We're not going to have the waste and excessive spending of the current Labor Party.
But you are going to tax business to fund a Rolls-Royce paid parental leave system, aren't you?
Overall, taxes will be less under the Coalition than they are under Labor, which means more money in the hands.
But that's true, though. You are going to tax business to fund that scheme,
well,
aren't you?
And we've said that. There's no change in our policy from the last election. But what we've said is that under us, taxation as a percentage of the economy will be less than it is under Labor. And we will do that, Chris, because our view is that you should reduce the amount of time Australians have to work every year for the federal government and give them an opportunity to work more and harder and get greater reward for their own effort during the course of the year.
When the government offers up savings, as it did with the private health insurance rebate, you're rejecting that as well. And again, you are making an argument for the rich, aren't you?
Well, it was a Pyrrhic saving, and that's why we opposed it, because if you create less incentive for people to invest in their own healthcare, you are simply transferring the cost burden from to the public sector from the private sector. And therefore, it might seem like a short-term win for the government, but ultimately state governments will have to put more money into the public hospital system.
Aren't you making an argument to subsidise the wealthy?
No.
Well, it certainly seems that way. You're going to be paying parental leave to some of the richest mothers in Australia. You're going to be subsidising the health insurance of some of the richest people in Australia. How can you afford to do that?
Well, look, can I say this? We are not in the business of subsidising rich or poor. We are not the party of envy. We are the party of hope, of reward, of opportunity. We actually, unlike the Labor Party, worked in small business, worked in businesses. The Labor Party today appointed their fourth small business minister in 4 years. All of them have only ever been union officials. None of them actually ran a small business. So we know that you have to provide incentive and reward for people who work hard and get ahead. And that's what we believe in as a party.
What's the size of the task that you've got to balance the budget? Is it 50 billion, 60 billion or $70 billion?
Whatever the size will be, we will deliver a surplus. We will start paying down Labor's debt.
And where will you make the cuts?
We'll have to make them across the board. and they'll be in areas of great waste. For example, the Labor Party has increased the number of public servants in Canberra by more than 20,000 since they were elected.
And those people deliver services, so where will the cuts come to people's services?
Well, not all of them deliver services.
But some of them do.
Well, some do, but a lot of people in Canberra are spending a lot of time duplicating the work of the states. For example, there's a Department of Health in Canberra with over 6,000 employees. Not one of them is a doctor or not one of them is a nurse treating a patient.
Tony Abbott keeps demanding an election, which means that you should be ready to go now with all of your policies. So where will the pain fall? Because there will have to be pain, won't there?
Well, of course, if you want to reduce the size of government, if you want to get rid of the waste, if you want to keep your commitments on track, you're going to have to make hard decisions.
So where will the hard decisions be, though? Well, you haven't identified any of them.
Well, we have. I just pointed out to you that the public service in Canberra is much larger than what it was that Labor inherited. We've already said that 12,000 will be going.
And what services will go? What services that people now get will cease to be?
I don't accept that the consumer or the Australian public is going to be any worse off by having a reduction in the number of public servants in Canberra.
So there won't be any pain at all that anyone will feel across any government programs?
Well, of course there will. Of course there will. But that is the benefit of getting rid of things like the carbon tax. The carbon tax is going to increase the cost of living for every Australian. Therefore, if you want to get rid of that tax, there is a cost and you can't get all the services that have been promised. But we are not afraid to make hard decisions in the national interest.
Joe Hockey, thank you.
Thanks very much, Chris.